And I'll give you a couple examples of inductive reasoning from the past dealing with astronomy. First of all, the shape and size of the Earth. It's a very common belief, misconception, that everybody thought the world was flat until 500 years ago at the time of Columbus. Well, it turns out people at least 2,500 years ago knew the world was spherical. Think about that. 2,500 years ago, people knew the world was spherical. And they had different arguments about. One of them is the fact that when you see a lunar eclipse, the shape of the shadow is always a circle, and only a sphere will cast a circle all the time, regardless of the orientation. There had other arguments too, but that's one of the better ones they had.
Hey guys, Paul on the plane here. Just a quick video today, the day after a lunar eclipse on January 31, 2018. A Facebook friend of mine, Ron Hagberg, who resides in Florida, captured both video and photographic evidence last night of the lunar eclipse that, in my opinion, blows the globe model of the Earth out of the water. At least the lie we are fed that a lunar eclipse is caused by the Earth's shadow being visible on the moon. Now, we're all told that the phenomenon of a lunar eclipse happens when the sun, the Earth, and the moon are all lined up, and the Earth's shadow caused by the sun's light is visible on the moon. So the darkened area we see is supposedly the shadow and the quote-unquote curve of the Earth. But what Mr. Hagberg documented last night, as you can see here, is the alleged shadow of the Earth completely upside down from where it should be on the globe model. If the darkening area of the moon is believed to be the Earth's shadow, then why isn't the shadow appearing on the other side, or the bottom of the moon? You can view all of Mr. Hagberg's work on Facebook. He's made it public so all can view it and review it and consider it and share it, etc. The link is in the video's description. He told me this afternoon his video and pictures are going viral, and he's been asked by many if they can share it. He graciously allowed me to share them here with you.
Now, in Ron's video, you can see that the sun was starting to come up and the moon was starting to go off into the distance, and yet the one thing that stood out most of all is the shadow, and how the shadow was coming from the top of the moon. What we observed here is the total opposite of what was supposed to be happening. You see, if the sun were being blocked by the curvature of the Earth, then the shadow should have been on the lower part of the moon, and the light from the sun, or the lit part of the moon, should have been at the top where the shadow is. It's completely opposite of what we should see according to the heliocentric model and what we've been told.
Let's take a look at the phony baloney ball Earth. And this is a supposed lunar eclipse with this model. As you can see, the top portion of the moon should be illuminated and the bottom portion should be darkened. Just another image just representing the supposed orbit of the moon around the so-called ball Earth. Now, take a look here. Again, the top portion should be illuminated, the bottom portion darkened. At this angle, from this perspective, again, the bottom portion should be darkened, the top should be illuminated. Now let's look at this video. Actually, I have two videos that I want to show recorded the same day from two separate locations, two different states. One from New Mexico and another from Illinois. First, let's take a look at the footage right here from just north of Santa Fe, New Mexico, looking towards Los Alamos. For a better perspective, let's take a look here at the map. Again, just for reference, for Santa Fe, so again, just north, so it's the angle you're looking at right here. And as you can see, the upload date was December 10th, 2011. Okay, let's take a look at the actual footage itself. Start from the very start, from the very beginning. Talks about the phenomenon of this eclipse. It's called the Selenian event. Now let's take a look. Go to this part right here. Now take a look at this time lapse of this moon, where both the sun, again, this is the sunrise, the sun and the moon are both above the horizon. Look at the top portion of the moon. It's darkened. Again, going back, put pause here for a second. Going back to this model, the top portion should be illuminated, of course, and the bottom portion darkened. And you're not getting that. You're getting the exact opposite. Okay? Let me play this again so you understand what's taking place here. So this definitely proves this is not caused by the so-called ball Earth. See this? It's clear as day. For all those people saying the lunar eclipse debunks the flat earth, you're completely wrong. I'm going to let this video play once again. Just look at all this footage and realize the most important aspect of this is during the sunrise. Okay? And there you go. Now, taking a look here, I showed this before with this guy here in Illinois. Okay? Take a look at this footage once again. Basically the same exact thing. Like I said, the same exact day. And they get the same exact results.
6:30 in the morning. It's about 18 degrees out here, and we're standing on top of Cahokia Mounds, just east of St. Louis. Behind me is a full moon, which will soon be going into a full lunar eclipse as it sets, kind of a rare experience, while at the same time behind us, the sun is already beginning to rise. So it's going to be a very interesting and beautiful experience. So it's about 6:55, and as you can see, we're getting a little bit brighter out here. You can see the shadow creeping across the moon. It's a little hard to see, I'm sure, in the camera, but from here, you can see nice and clearly. It's about a third of the way covered. The moon is starting to turn nice and orange. Over my right shoulder, you can see downtown St. Louis and the nice early morning sun, which is getting very bright. The eastern horizon behind us. Yeah, we can see it's practically day here yet. We still have the moon out, which is slowly eclipsing. And it's still cold. Okay, so it's now about 7:04 a.m. and over my shoulder you probably cannot see anything, but through the stacks of the refinery back there, we can just barely make out a little bit of the moon left. It's about 2/3 the way covered with earth shadow, and it's turning a sort of pale orange, pinkish color. But with the bright morning sun coming up, there's not enough contrast to be able to see the moon there. We can still see it just a little bit. What I find very interesting is I was expecting the shadow to come upward across the moon as it would go down and it would pass into shadow, and actually it's going the other way around.
There you go. This is because the indoctrination from the school system. People just blindly accept and believe what the textbooks say. He's just trying to piece it all together. Again, trying to rationalize everything so it fits along with what science says, which is an absolute lie. Again, science book, the school books, the Freemasons that put it all together, it's all about duality, the exact opposite of what we're told. Everything is the exact opposite of the actual truth that we're taught in the school system. Nothing but lies.
Around the Earth, it's moving farther up, even though the sun's light is actually coming from over there. It's actually coming underneath the Earth. So
no, it's not. The sun is not coming. The sunlight is not coming from underneath the Earth. Give me a break. Again, just trying to rationalize why it's not adding up to the science books.
So if you imagine, the sun is here, the Earth is here, and the moon is back here, and this light was coming under the Earth.
But how can that be? You just showed yourself the sun is above the horizon. So again, he makes absolutely no sense trying to explain this. Sad. It's very sad. People can't get off the lights. Instead of saying, you know what we were taught doesn't add up, doesn't make sense, what's going on here? They can't do it. Because then you're considered crazy. You can't go there. That's exactly what's taking place.
But the moon must be rotating around even though we're turning, so it looks like the moon is going down. It's kind of an optical illusion. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, an illusion.
So the sun is scheduled to set at 7:08. I'm sorry.
The only illusion is what you're taught in the school system. There you go once again. Top portion is darkened, and the bottom portion is illuminated. And with this video clip, again from New Mexico, there's no narration for this video. Can't explain this. Science cannot explain this. Again, let's take a look here at what space.com has to say about this occurring. Space.com's website. Scroll down. See what it says here. This interesting sky watchers should attempt to see the solar eclipse of the moon and the rising sun simultaneously. The little used name for this effect is called selenium, a phenomenon that a celestial geometry says cannot happen. So there you go. They say it cannot happen. Why can it happen? Of course, because we don't live on a ball Earth. Now, taking a look at all these images provided by NASA over the years of the supposed ball Earth. Of course, I've covered this many times. None of this adds up. But 2012 in North America, look at the United States. Look how large it looks, look how big it looks in relation to the other so-called ball Earths. So what I'm getting at is this. For all those that try to debunk the flat Earth, before you even try to debunk the flat Earth, prove your ball Earth. And you can't, because all NASA has ever given us, again, is nothing but fakery. This is the foundation of your belief, and your foundation is crumbling when this is all you can provide. Complete joke, complete insult when you believe this is, this is legitimate or this is real evidence or proof of anything. So once again, before you even start a debate on the flat Earth versus ball Earth, you got to prove your ball Earth. Till then, you have no debate.
I have also had other folks send me photos, like this one, showing me different angles of the shadow, like on the side of the moon here, which also doesn't work in the heliocentric model.
The explanation of a complete darkening of the surface of the moon, lunar eclipse that is because the Earth is said to be directly between the moon and the sun during the time of the eclipse. On January 31st, Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, California, did a complete recording of the lunar eclipse going through all its phases. Then they compressed it into a 60-second time lapse. Rather impressive. But towards the end, you'll see that the moon goes over the horizon at an angle. While you're watching the video, for some reason or another, they uploaded it as if you were watching the video straight up. But once it gets over to the horizon, you realize that you were supposed to be watching it like this. Now, let's go ahead and fix the angle and see right about where these shadows are supposed to be falling.
There are also numerous accounts on Facebook of folks experiencing the darkening of the moon with the lunar eclipse last night, with the sun visible above the horizon. Explain that, Globe Earth defenders.
It's a very common belief, misconception, that everybody thought the world was flat until 500 years ago at the time of Columbus. Well, it turns out people at least 2,500 years ago knew the world was spherical. Think about that. 2,500 years ago, people knew the world was spherical, and they had different arguments for that. One of them is the fact that when you see a lunar eclipse...
Here we go, y'all. Morning of January 31st. It's getting light out, and to the west, we have the moon in a total lunar eclipse. It's blood red. See that? So how can there be a lunar eclipse? How can the Earth be causing that when the sun is up over here? See that? The sunrise. See how it's light over there? That's the sun. So wait, if the sunlight's up over here, how can it be going down and around the Earth to then block the moon? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Come on, people. That just seriously debunks the whole heliocentric model right here. Right here. Moon eclipsed, up above the horizon, to the west.
There are also numerous accounts on Facebook of folks experiencing the darkening of the moon with the lunar eclipse last night, with the sun visible above the horizon.
Pretty much destroying that whole idea that the Earth is directly between the moon and the sun. Obviously, that's not the case.
The idea of outer space and this concept that space is this dark, foreboding, dangerous place that you don't want to go to without some special ceremonial garb, which they call spacesuits, is a way of impeaching God's abode in heaven. Okay, because you cannot have a God in heaven and have outer space. If you read in Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 25 through 28, God's throne is surrounded by brightness, okay? But space is full of darkness, okay? And notice how they call it outer space. So they've taken heaven and turned it into hell. Why? Why do I say that? Well, because what do we read? What do we read that hell is like? In Matthew 25:30, we have Jesus casting the unprofitable servant into outer darkness, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. That sounds very much like outer space. And he indicates that there's an everlasting fire. Okay, we see that in Matthew 25:41. Okay, it's an everlasting punishment. Well, this blackest of black, we have astronauts repeatedly talking about the outer space as the blackest of black, okay, in outer space, outer darkness. They're turning heaven into hell is what they're doing. And it's very dangerous. It's got a dangerous, perfect vacuum, okay, and there's gamma rays and cosmic rays and X-rays, and these things will burn you up, okay? These things will destroy you unless you have protection. Now, they never have explained how all of these gamma rays, X-rays, and so forth in outer space, how the astronauts are protected from that, because there is no lead protection in those suits. And interesting, those suits can hardly be pressurized either, because in order to be pressurized, they would not be able to move in them. If anybody's familiar with vacuums, because the space is supposed to be a vacuum, they would be like the Michelin Man if they were in a spacesuit in a vacuum. They would not be able to move their limbs, their hands.
People gave ear to an upstart astrologer, Copernicus, who strove to show that the earth revolves, not the heavens, or the firmament, the sun, and the moon. This fool wishes to reverse the entire science of astronomy, but sacred scripture tells us, Joshua 10:13, that Joshua commanded the sun to stand still, and not the earth.
And then you find other people, I'll just mention in passing, Copernicus, with the heliocentric theory, popularization of that.
Just tell our people what heliocentric means.
That means the sun is the center, and the planets, including the Earth, go around the sun.
Right.
Good point.
We will see some who are so deranged, not only in religion, but who in all things reveal their monstrous nature, that they will say that the sun does not move, and that it is the earth which shifts and turns. When we see such minds, we must indeed confess that the devil possesses them, and that God sets them before us as mirrors, in order to keep us, in his fear.